After we plot the y-intercept, we're going to use our slope to find the next point. The slope of the first inequality is 4, which means we need to positive 4, which means we need to rise 4 and run to the right 1. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 to the right. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 to the right. And let's go in the opposite direction at least one time. Go down 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left 1. Okay. Now, since our inequality symbol is a greater than, we will connect these points with a dotted line. We're going to save the shading for a little bit later after we graph this other inequality, just so it won't get too confusing. By the way, the first line is going to be blue, and we'll use pink for the second inequality. So again, with the second inequality, we start by plotting our y-intercept, which in this case is a positive 3. And we're going to use our slope to find the next points. The slope in this example, or in this inequality, is -2. So that means we're going to go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 right 1. And I'm going to keep following this pattern until I run out of room. When I run out of room, I'm going to go in the opposite direction and go up 2 to the left 1, up 2 to the left 1. Okay, then after we have all of our points plotted, use the inequality symbol to decide if it's going to be a solid or dotted line. In this case, it's going to be a solid line because we have a greater than or equal to symbol. Okay. Let's go ahead and add this solid lines. Add my arrow. All right. Now we're almost done. So the last thing we need to do is include the shading on our graphs. So we refer back to our symbol here. Since this is a greater than symbol, I'm going to shade above the blue line. And then for the second line, we also have a greater than, so that means I'm shading above the pink line as well. So like we already stated, the double shaded region is the solution set. So if we were to divide our graph into 4 regions, 1, 2, 3, 4, region 3 would be considered our solution set because there's the overlap of shading with the 2 inequalities. Before we graph the inequalities in example 2, I noticed that our second inequality is not solved for any one variable. So we need to go ahead and solve this inequality for y before we can graph. So our first step in solving for y is to move the x term to the other side. So since we have a positive 5x, we're going to subtract 5x from both sides. So 3y is greater than or equal to negative 5x minus 9. And then our last step is going to be to divide by the number in front of y, which in this case is a positive 3. 3's cancel, so y is greater than or equal to negative 5 over 3x minus 3. So now we're able to graph both of our inequalities and determine our solution set. So the first inequality is x is less than or equal to -3. Because it's x and no y, that means it's going to be a vertical line through -3 on the x-axis. I'll use this color, 3, okay. We know it's a vertical line, so I'll just, put a few more points to show that it's going to be vertical. And since it's a less than or equal to, we will combine with a solid line, or connect with a solid line. Okay. And just as before, we're going to save the shading until we've graphed the other inequality. So for the second inequality, now that we've solved for y, our y-intercept is -3, so that's going to be my starting point. And I'm going to use the slope, which is -5/3, to find the next points. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go to the left 1, 2, 3. Now, because the slope is what it is, I don't have room to add any more points, so I'm going to go ahead and connect my 2 points. We have a greater than or equal to, so that means I'm going to connect with a solid line, just as before. So now that we have both of our lines graphed, we are able to now shade. So because the first inequality is x is less than or equal to -3, and it's a vertical line, you kind of look at where the inequality symbol is pointing, and that is where you should shade. So it says x is less than -3, so we're going to shade everything on the left side because it's less than -3. Okay. Now it's time for our second inequality. We ended up with y is greater than or equal to, so we're going to shade everything above the other line. So if we were to break this up into 4 sections, the fourth region or the fourth section would be considered our solution set, because that is where both of our, that's where the shading overlaps in both our inequalities.